Good evening. We formally welcome you to the Ice Cream Parlor.
Yes, I'm your host tonight, Stefan, and this is my lovely co-host, Heidi. And
How dare you accuse me of being lovely? Hey, welcome back to the Ice Cream Parlor.
Yes, we're back again with another episode where we love to talk about horror movies. Eventually, right?
Eventually.
Is that our new catchphrase? It used to be, there will be spoilers. Now it's eventually.
I mean, the thing is, we talk a lot.
That's okay, though. I think that's exactly what a podcast is about, talking. So there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm just saying, we talk a lot.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about how summer vacation's over, right?
Summer vacation's over. Kids are back to school.
For your kids, yeah, not us really. I mean, I'm always working. You know, we're always trying to...
I'm always working.
Yeah, exactly. So summer vacation's over for your kids, and that's sort of, you all ready for that? I mean, because obviously this is now social distance learning and Zoom calls and all that, so...
Yeah, I'm confident in my kids' ability to successfully succeed. And I mean, like I mentioned, they did great in summer school. So when they left school and immediately started the social distancing back in March. Oh my God, so long ago it feels like.
I know, it feels so long ago. It is so long ago.
Yeah, back in March they had to suddenly, kind of like a free-for-all, and a lot of the classes were either pass or fail as opposed to letter grades.
Mm-hmm.
But summer session was different. They had time, teachers and staff had time to plan things a little bit differently. So it was very well structured. There were check-ins, there was attendance. I thought it was great. My kids got straight A's there. For one kid, it was the norm, straight A's all the time. And the other kid, it was like brand new. And it was like, holy shit, straight A's, let's do this. So I'm kind of really excited about it. I trust that they'll do well.
You think they're going to do better in this setup?
Well, the thing is, people forget that kids learn differently.
Yep, absolutely.
Every kid will learn differently.
Yeah. And
my kids, they seem to do their best when they're less distracted with other children and the pressures of being in school.
Mm-hmm.
And, the good kind of distractions. Like me, I always work better when I have headphones in. So do my children.
Sure, yeah. It's going to save some people on some gas money. They're not taking the bus or walking,
That's right.
To and from school every day.
Well, so we live in Inglewood. Work and school was in Santa Monica, and it was very, very hard, I guess, in certain ways, because we'd have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. Everybody had to shower, get ready for the day, have breakfast, then head on out by 6:30 to be able to drop off the first one at school, drop off the second one at school, and then make it to work. Mm-hmm. And then in the afternoon, it was pick them up from school. I'd get off at 5. Sometimes I'd get home at 6 or 7. Yeah, so things are going to be a little bit easier in some regards. But I mean, there's also that social component. They can make a lot of things up if they need to. I'd rather them be safe and at home.
Yeah.
Regardless, but I was able to save a ton of money on school supplies this year. What I did was I got them a Rocket notebook, and it's just a reusable
I've seen you use that for the podcast,
I use it
for your notes and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And you just use it with a friction pen, and then you can just erase it just with a cloth.
That's cool.
And you can reuse it. Otherwise, I'm buying one notebook per class, like 3 per semester if I'm lucky, per kid. And that's just notebooks, let alone binder paper. Anyway, I think a lot of ways it'll make us recognize how many different ways which areas where we can work smarter versus doing the same old traditional write everything down. Like, you can still write everything down. I know that when I take notes, I copy them over and I retain the information. You know what I mean? Well, so you can still reinforce the better ways of learning for your child. No problem. I just think it saved me a lot on school supplies. It saved me a lot on back to school shopping. Although the kids, they get clothes all the time anyway.
Well, maybe it'd be cool if we could get Rocketbook to sponsor the podcast. That'd be awesome.
I mean, I've been using Rocketbook for a long time, and I recently just got Rocketbook Panda Planner because I always use the Panda Planner.
Oh, that's theirs too?
No, they didn't get. No. Panda Planner is different,
right?
And that's the Panda Planner. That's where it's 1 quarter at a time, 3 months at a time. And it's just a regular planner. They have monthly, then they have weekly, then they have daily sections of just a regular calendar planner. But then they merged for this project with Rocketbook. And so now there's a reusable one, because I used to have to either throw one out or figure out how to store all this sensitive information. so 4 times a year. So anyway, I'm excited that they have this new, version. And I love it because it has a Rocket app. And what you do is there's a key at the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that.
And you just mark where you want it to go, and you just take a picture with the app, and automatically either adds it to your Google Drive,
that's
or
pretty cool.
Emails it to you, or puts it on your Evernote or whatever, Dropbox or whatever you use. And it's super easy.
Yeah.
I have it set up so that the kids have each one of their classrooms, and if they have to write out homework, they just take a picture with the app, and it automatically either puts it into a folder on their Google Drive, or it automatically emails it to the teacher.
Yeah, that's nice. It is. We are fortunate. Yeah, I know. We're talking about your kids going back to school. It's fortunate that they have that opportunity, because obviously we know a lot of people that don't necessarily have that opportunity as well. Like Philly Watts, our good friend who made the opening intro music,
right,
and outro music for the podcast.
And he's your bassist. Yes,
and he also played bass in DTI. He's going back to school tomorrow too with kids, and they're there. It's not completely online and virtual and whatever. Right. And who knows what they're up for. It's a work in progress. They're going to have to figure it out as they go.
Yeah,
so.
I think it really sucks. Like you saw in Georgia when they first opened up, like they were closed right back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, and this is Florida we're talking about, so we know it's kind of crazy over there.
And it's just, I don't know. It's just really scary. I can't imagine wanting... I understand that people are scared of what the society is now because of the uncertainty about the pandemic and everything. But I can't imagine being so fucking weak and scared of change that you're going to sacrifice the children to give everybody a sense of normalcy.
Yeah. Well, these times like this show a couple things. And one of the things is that does show that there's people on both sides of the fence, and maybe even maybe the fence doesn't even just have two sides, is what I'm trying to say. It divides people and it splits them into different categories, and you get to see, because a lot of times we walk around and we're like, well, I can't even believe that there's people out there in the world that think that way.
Yeah,
but
idiots
now
that,
you see that there clearly are.
Yeah, you see idiots that attack retail workers because they're trying to enforce the mask policy. It's stupid.
Yeah. It just brings out the worst in people. The times are already tough enough. There's already so much craziness going on. And then, it just kind of drives people over the edge a little bit more.
It's like when you have a zombie movie or a post-apocalyptic movie or something, and there's marauders, right? It's like when you're in a horror movie and you realize that the biggest threat isn't this monster. The biggest threat is the other bad guy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Hold, please. I need to let Josie into get her little box. So, sorry. So what I was saying is, how in some horror movies, or just movies, people are trying to survive, but there was always that one bad guy that's like, but this, but right. I need to get back at this guy, instead of everybody working cohesively as a team to try to make things better. There's that bad guy but I need this.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And so all we're doing is we're identifying the villains in the real life horror movie that is right now.
Yeah. But on their side of the fence, and I'm just saying, they look at us as being the villains or whatever. It's one of those things.
Because we're making them wear a mask? Holy shit, there was somebody that posted, if we really needed to wear masks, then why haven't we adapted to have masks? And somebody's like, well, you do wear shoes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's
back in the 80s, nobody wore a seatbelt, and then they had to wear a seatbelt, and it was the same similar kind of shit. But guess what? Now everybody has to wear a seatbelt.
Sure.
And maybe we won't have to wear face masks for a long time, but at least do it now so we get back on track. By the way, icecreampodcast.com/shop, you can find these wonderful masks. All right, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're going to have to wear masks forever. And
I sure hope we don't have to.
And it doesn't mean that things are changing forever. There are some things hopefully that will be better. I always have had, I have issues with germs anyway. I'm always like, I don't want to touch that. Take your shoes off before you come into my house. There's sanitizer and antibacterial spray by my door. I'm like that anyway. But to be perfectly honest, in the beginning of this, back in April, I wasn't taking it serious. When somebody at my job showed up with a mask before lockdown even happened, we were kind of like, of course he's wearing a mask.
Yeah, I understand.
But it was weird. But because we didn't understand the severity of it.
Right. Nobody did. I mean, it just sort of was kind of like a joke at first, and we were like, oh, it'll pass. And then now here we are almost in September.
Right. But we were lucky enough that I'm already a germaphobe. So I didn't have to worry about, oh shit, everything is sold out, because we already had everything.
Sure. Look, I don't know really what to say about it, because I agree with you. I just like to...
I'm not trying to argue.
No, I'm not arguing with you either. I look at it like there's people that do dumb shit, and you're never going to... I don't know. They're going to be there. They're always going to be there, whether it's one or half the population or whatever. And right now, everybody's trying to do what they think is best for themselves, even the people that are doing something wrong. So what are you going to do? You just got to try to change yourself and live your own way. So like you said, you have the sanitizer, you have everything ready to go. That's great. So you're doing your job, and, I'm doing my job, and hopefully we all do our job together.
So what I'm saying is, what does it hurt to wear a mask? It doesn't actually cut off your... I'm not saying you don't.
I know.
I'm just speaking in general. There's people that are so adamant about wearing masks. What does it hurt? And if we're wrong, we're wrong. But it doesn't cut off circulation. It doesn't cut off your ability to breathe. It doesn't do any of those things.
Sure. But, I don't know. I guess I don't really truly believe in a utopian society where everybody's just going to follow suit.
Well, that's obviously a reality, because there are people here that being absolute shits.
Yeah.
I mean, people suck. And a lot of the times people make their decisions based on fear. And oftentimes when you have these decisions that are based on fear, they're not always going to be rational. They're not going to be something you probably would have even thought you would do, sober. The things that you would have done, if you're in the right frame of mind. Fear makes you do some fucked up shit sometimes. Sometimes fear makes you be resilient. Sometimes it makes you into a fucking dick shit.
Yep. It can also drive you crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Somewhat like a basket case.
You're kind of stupid.
Yeah. I know. I try.
This week we watched Basket Case. It was a movie from the year of my birth, 1982.
Yeah.
This movie's as old as I am.
I had never heard of this movie before.
So actually, this movie was recommended. I want to get their handle right.
Oh, I forgot that this movie was recommended. I thought that it was from the documentary again that we watched, but I guess it just jogged your memory that someone had recommended it or something?
I don't know. This movie was recommended by somebody on Twitter, and I can't get their handle. I'm sorry. I forget. But
it's all right. We'll find it later, and we'll put it in the show notes or whatever if you want to.
So I can't find a handle, but it was a conversation I was having on Twitter at Ice Cream Podcast, I think is our handle, right?
Yeah, you don't know our handle?
I don't fucking know. And I was having a conversation, and it was touted as the sickest movie I've ever watched by some movie reviewer when the movie came out in the 80s. Now,
I don't like those assessments because it's never really the sickest movie.
But it did have some very, very sick elements, especially for the time, 1982.
For the time.
And it sparked interest in me because I'd seen the box art before. And I never thought to get it because I'm like, it's kind of another Peeping Tom kind of movie, because it's like the blind and somebody looking out through it, which looks like, but it's actually a basket and somebody peeking out through it,
Sure.
So I never really had that much interest in it. But then when we watched that 80s horror doc,
Into the Darkness,
that's when I'm like, oh shit, we have to watch the movie. I forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I, again, never heard of this movie, and I'm pleasantly surprised watching it. Yeah, exactly. These are all again, very fun movies for me to watch now as an adult, and just, it's very, especially during this isolated quarantine type of time, we've got a little bit more time on our hands, and it's fun to be able to, just go back and revisit these with no judgment or no expectations at all, I don't know the details of the movie. Obviously, that's something that you do much better at as far as who directed it and who's in it.
It was written and directed by Frank Henenlotter. And this was his first. Right. It was his first feature film directorial debut. So he admitted that he did not know what he was doing when he was doing this movie. And it's a very low budget movie. It was $35,000 to make. So it's cost about as much as my car to make.
Yeah, that's crazy. But sometimes it's art, you know. You don't necessarily have to have a lot of money to make good art. You can still
I think they
good
did a great
elements.
job. It's raw, it's gritty, it's disgusting, it's cheap, and it's awesome.
Do you consider this one to be like a kind of campy movie where it's like,
well, it's like a horror comedy of horror
type
kind
thing,
of thing, and it stars Kevin Van Hentenryck as Duane Bradley.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra syllables in a lot of these last names in the movie.
And he also provided the face model or whatever, the mold for Belial Bradley, who is also in the story.
Interesting.
Yep. And it stars Terri Susan Smith, who is the love interest, who wears a wig the whole time.
Yeah.
And
just like the last movie we watched where the dude was wearing a toupee or whatever.
But the wig, like when I see a wig, I'm like, I wish they would have had a better wig, because then I'm like so distracted by the wig. Anyway.
Sure. Well, low
like
budget movies,
Kind of like when people put their shoes on their bed, like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. That's how you get coronavirus. It also stars a lot of other interesting characters, because this movie takes place in 1980s New York. Seedy New York. Dirty New York.
The last probably couple years where New York was like really grimy and dirty, and it was just like the movie starts with Duane Bradley kind of walking through New York, and he's carrying this basket, but it's like, it's so gritty, you can feel like the stickiness in the air. Yeah, there's drug dealers, prostitutes, whorehouses, porno theaters. It's the New York that doesn't exist anymore today.
Like when I think of New York, I think of like yuppies and kind of like American Psycho kind of
like Wall Street
professionals. Business professionals. Yeah. But everybody very stylish and mod. But I don't think of this seedy, very nasty, like dark place. And it is very much in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like super delicious. You know what I mean? Like you look at it and you're like, holy shit. Like you kind of want to be there, but you are so glad that, you've had all your vaccines. You need a tetanus shot after watching this movie? Yeah,
this movie, we forgot to mention, does start off with a kill right away. Before we get to the New York scene, there's this doctor or whatever that we see who gets killed, in the opening scene. And that's another like, bam, let's get into it right away,
absolutely.
And some nice gashes and blood effects and stuff like that.
So there's the movie starts like this. There is a man, and he is in front of his house, which seems to be in the woods or in the outskirts somewhere.
Yeah, some probably upstate New York
I don't know, the East Coast. And he's like, feels like somebody's following him, somebody's watching him, somebody's up to no good.
Doesn't he have like some briefcase?
He's got a
documents
briefcase
or
with
whatever?
documents in it, and he is getting into his house. He goes to the house and he tries to call for help. The phone lines get cut.
Yeah.
And suddenly we see that he's attacked, and there are gashes and like this.
The special effects were not bad for being such a low budget.
Practical special effects, right? So it is very, very gross, but we see blood splatter on this one specific
document
file folder.
Yeah.
And then the movie goes to New York. Yeah,
the seedy, grimy New York.
Yeah. Now there's this, hip young guy who looks like he's out from the boondocks. So wait, is it boondocks? The boonies. We call it the boonies.
Well, he looks strange because he is walking around with a basket in the middle of New York. So
like what I would do, probably maybe use a backpack, maybe a stroller.
Sure, yeah.
But a basket.
A basket, right.
Like I'm talking about a big basket. Like imagine having to hold something like at about this, like the handles at about this distancing of your armpits. You know what I mean? That's like a lot of armor.
And the funny thing is, he gets confronted by a drug dealer who offers him probably every drug imaginable
and every kind of woman.
And he turns it all down.
He's like, "Well, fuck you." Then.
Again, he's just on his mission with his basket, trying to find basically a little hotel or a little room to stay.
He's looking for somewhere to stay.
Yeah. Which he does come across, and he finds this, I think it's called the Hotel Broslin.
Hotel Broslin, that's right. And it is the first motel he happens to come across. And he gets a room.
Well, it wouldn't be a motel. It would be a hotel, I think.
Hotels have restaurants or dine-in options. Motels don't.
No, but I think, first of all, it says hotel in the name.
I know, but I'm telling you, as somebody who actually did ROTC in a hotel.
Okay, all right.
That's what they
all
taught
right.
us. But they could be wrong.
I was always told that a motel is like a one where you drive up to the door, and it's like on the outside, whereas a hotel you go in through a lobby and the rooms are located on the inside of the building.
No, my understanding is the hotel motel distinction is due to the fact of food and dining.
Gotcha. I don't know. Well, that's something we can look up on another day, I guess.
If you know, please let us know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
there's this cool front lobby guy who's like real like
he's like you know what he kind of reminded me of? Okay,
what?
so he's actually played by.
I love how you love to give these unknown actors their recognition.
He's
because
played by Robert Vogler.
Did he go on to do anything else?
No, but I love him as a character because he kind of reminds me of Mickey from Rocky.
Oh, okay.
But like denser, like beefier.
Yeah,
and sturdy. He's like a very sturdy man.
Yeah, he is. He's stock and sturdy. He's got straightforward, attitude
like, look, no
to
bullshit.
him. No bullshit. It's going to be this much up front. You pay, whatever.
Yeah. And he is in the lobby, or at the front desk, he's like shooting the shit with some other guy who is actually one of the characters in House of a Thousand Corpses at Captain Spaulding's, who's shooting the shit with Captain Spaulding.
Oh, okay. Well, there's one actor that went on to do another movie, at least.
I don't remember his
that
name.
guy, I think, notices that our main character, Duane, has like a wad of cash. And I wonder, where did he come across all that money from?
Well, I mean, we find out that Duane does come from an affluent family.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? But also, that wad of cash happened to be like nearly all of the money that they had, the budget for the film. Like they used that as that scene.
I saw something actually about the budget for the film was something that they would do a couple scenes and then bring it to investors and then get some more money and do a couple more scenes.
That's why it took 4 years to complete this film.
That's crazy. I mean, that's probably unheard of to do. But you got to give the guy a lot of credit for sticking with it and making the projects come to life.
Yeah, I imagine making movies before now was so fucking hard. Like it's hard to put together a music video right now, let alone a whole feature film.
Yeah. I've been thinking about now because you can't really. I mean, unless you have like some big time HBO money or something like that, you can't get a whole crew together to shoot a lot of like music videos or any kind of video stuff. That I think the next move is maybe I might put out another lyric video to one of my songs for the DTI project that's out.
I think that's awesome because DE is a really good song.
Yeah, well, I really, I think I might work on that. I mean, right now, lyric videos and any imagery that doesn't involve actual people is probably the best way to go.
Right.
But I also feel like, with the cameras that we have nowadays between iPhones and 1080p, all this and that, whatever, like we could probably get some good shots. I don't know what
any of that meant.
I feel like I could put together a kind of low budget music video on my own if everything kind of was like with minimal help is what I'm saying. Anyways, lyric video, be on the lookout.
Great.
I might be a basket case as well too.
A little bit. No, I hope not. Well, I was going to say something about that. Hold on. Let me remember.
Well, we were talking about the guy and how he was very...
So, he gets a room. He gets room number 7. On his way up to the room, he notices a woman named Beverly. And she is like an older black lady who's like in her 40s, maybe?
Yeah, probably,
But she's a sex worker.
Well, I don't even know if she's a sex worker, but she's...
Well, she's listed as a sex worker.
Oh, she is. Okay.
So, she's listed as a prostitute, but, she's a sex worker.
Okay.
And she kind of like, she notices him and he goes into his room. And that's when we meet Belial. Belial.
Such a funny name. Sounds very almost like... what do I want to say? Bible-esque, like Christian.
So, do you remember when we did The Wicker Man?
Yeah.
And do you remember that I sung the "Burn and Burn Below"?
Oh, right, yeah.
That lyric has the name Belial in it.
Belial?
But I have to go back and remember it.
Yeah, so it sounds almost like a demon's name. You know how like there's all these demon names like Bathsheba and all this and whatever. Sometimes I wonder if they, it's either... they really are real demons and we're like calling them forth by saying their names, or it's just all bullshit and it just sounds fun. I kind of lean to that side a little bit more. But Belial, yeah, it's a cool name.
So what it is, we're introduced to him because Duane is speaking to the basket and then immediately has to go and get food. And he gets like 10 or 20 hamburgers.
Yeah.
And he's managed to eat one, but what lives in the basket, Belial, devours all the rest. Everything. And Belial... Okay, so here's what the movie is. I'm just going to broad stroke this movie.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's good to watch, but it does have a lot of interesting... I'd hate for people not to watch it.
This is like a very good horror comedy. You're going to laugh and have fun with it if you allow yourself to, and that's what I feel like.
So spoilers from here on out is what I'm saying. Wow. But the thing is, the movie is about Duane and Belial. And they were conjoined twins.
Right. Is that Siamese? Twins. Or is there a difference between Siamese twins and conjoined twins? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah. They were joined at the hip, whatever kind of twin that is. They
were joined, not at the hip, but like more on the side, like the ribs almost. Okay. But they didn't share any organs or any living tissue is what the understanding was. However, Belial was only arms and a head.
Yeah, he seems like he was he didn't form all the way in the embryo stage or whatever.
Yeah. It's when when you have twins and one absorbs the other, but this one didn't get absorbed or something like that.
Right.
So when giving birth, the mother died. The dad is completely insane with grief and will not accept the baby because he just will not. Luckily,
he didn't want Duane either, did he?
Well, he wanted Duane, but he didn't want Belial attached to Duane.
Okay.
And so he only said, "My son is that one, not that one."
Right, yeah.
And luckily, Belial and Duane were being looked after by their aunt, the mom's sister, and she was the one who was able to take care of them and make sure that they were healthy and safe and whatever. However, one night that the aunt was gone, the dad snuck in 3 doctors.
Yeah.
One was
like a vet or something like that.
Yeah, there was a woman who was a vet. There was another and 2 other doctors. One was a doctor, one's an anesthesiologist or something like that. And he snuck them in to separate them. And they separated Belial from Duane and threw him in the garbage.
Just toss him in a black garbage bag and just out the fucking door. Fuck that shit.
Oh my gosh. And then this is where I have my theories kind of things.
All right. Let's hear them.
Then, no, not yet. But then Belial is able to speak to Duane telepathically.
Yeah, that was weird.
And he leads him to where he is, and he finds him in this garbage bag. Now, they hide him, the aunt and him hide him. No. Duane and Belial are so angry that what happened that they kill the dad.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
They build this contraption.
Yeah, that's right.
And impale him.
Yeah, it's like has a buzzsaw or something on the end of it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he wakes up in the middle of the night because he hears like a saw.
Yeah, and he walks through this enormous house barefoot.
Goes all the way downstairs to the basement.
Steps on some nails.
Yeah, and then he happens to see the saw turn on, and it's on a contraption that's on like a little like slope, and it comes flying at him, and boom, cuts him right in the middle.
Right.
So do we say he gets killed the fuck up?
I'll save that one.
All right, okay.
I'll save it.
All right, we haven't said that in a while.
He gets impaled. I said it in Reanimator.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't know. But the aunt and the police, so, they're like, whatever, but they hide Belial, and she's going to take care of them now.
Yeah.
But then she dies.
Right.
And only after she dies does this revenge plot.
Yeah, which was probably Belial's plot, right?
Which is why the first guy died. He was one of the doctors. No, he was the anesthesiologist.
Okay.
Or one of the doctors or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's his file that they took. They took it to New York to try to find the other ones. And they do. They find Dr. Needleman.
Right.
Who has like this shady doctor's office.
Yeah, it's
like he gives wrong prescriptions and he's messy, but he has this receptionist who is hot and has a wig, and she is, what is her name?
Is it Diane?
Her name is Sharon.
Oh, in the movie or the actress?
Played by Terri Susan Smith.
Okay, Sharon.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because she kind of throws herself at...
Yeah, that was 70s New York, though, maybe, you know? Or...
But she throws herself at Duane, and she's like, I get off later. But she gives him a little too much information. She tells him that she's off by a certain time, and the doctor is going to probably stay there. She's not going to be in the next day.
Yeah.
And you know, here's my address.
Yep.
But when he's like flirting with her and he's about to leave, he leaves Belial in the basket across the room and whispers to her to give him the address. Because he's interested in her, but doesn't want Belial to know.
Yeah.
Although they're connected telepathically.
Right, yeah. See, I didn't get the whole telepathic thing yet at that point in time. Like, I
they
realized
don't show it yet.
I realized that he's talking to the basket, but the basket wasn't talking back. But when he did that, I didn't really catch. Now that I know what was going on, it makes sense that he didn't want him to find out that he was going to get the girl's number.
But when she initially let him in to see the doctor goes in and tries to examine, and supposedly he had a stomach ache or something, and goes, a heart pain. And then he walks in and immediately he sees the scar.
Yeah.
And the scar is where Belial was attached.
Yeah.
And they talk to him, but you don't see what they say.
Right.
He leaves. The doctor frantically calls the woman doctor, who is...
Dr. Cutter.
Dr. Cutter.
I remember that because it reminded me of House.
No, the Cuddy?
Cuddy, oh, that's what it was.
But Cutter is what they call Captain Spaulding.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Cutter. Cutter.
Oh,
So you remember when Devil's Rejects and they make a break for it?
Right,
and it's Cutter?
Yeah. Maybe that's where Rob Zombie got his
basket case?
Little thing from. Yeah, maybe he
I haven't heard a song that says Belial, though. You think that would be one of them?
Maybe.
But maybe he doesn't like Belial because of what happens later in this movie. Okay. So Cutter, but she's a woman doctor. She's actually a vet, and she is like seducing this young thing.
Yeah, she's at a dinner with this young guy who kind of looks a little bit like Duane, I thought, you know.
Yeah, you thought it was Duane.
And she gets the phone call, and she's like, basically like, I don't know who you are. I've never been to upstate New York. Fuck out of here, because I'm eating dinner right now. I'm trying to, Spider's trying to catch herself a fly.
Gross. But, so we understand that they're connected.
We understand that the doctors are connected, is what you're saying, right? Yeah. So we understand that is the connection. They were involved in the separation.
Right.
And so Needleman's still alive at this point in time because he, Duane left. Yeah. So. But.
So later on, they kind of are figuring out the plot, they're figuring out what they're going to do. And what they do is, they formulate a plan to break into the doctor's office. And when Sharon is leaving at 7, because she said she was leaving at that time, they go back in, they go into the alleyway, and Belial kind of climbs and sneaks his way into the doctor's office. Kills him. And steals his Rolodex.
Yeah. His Rolodex, which they call it like his... phone book. I don't know. They call it something. Address book. Yeah, I'm like address book. It's a giant Rolodex.
Rolodex is probably the like Sea-Doo, you know, or
right.
Jacuzzi.
It's the name brand, right? Yeah.
So he's killed, and they have the information. They go back to the hotel, and this is where, and you know, they're making the plan for the next day. This is where the next day where Duane is like, I'll be back. I'm going to go stake out the joint. But he actually takes Sharon out for a date.
He lies to Belial, his brother, and he's like, I'm going to go check it out, see where Cutter's at, whatever. And then, you know, I'll be back. But he really goes on a date, and he has this like lovely time with Sharon, and she has a great time. They're running around like in the parks that's like across from the Twin Towers or whatever. And
they make out.
They have a kiss. Yeah, they make out.
But Belial feels it and rages. and he starts to destroy the room
Everything.
and screaming.
We get this
and
nice
nasty.
stop animation sequence,
yeah,
right?
It's like Gumby on acid. And he is just destroying everything.
Everything. The brand new TV that he got him.
Yeah.
All of the furniture, everything. And the people in the hotel are all freaking out because they can hear
this
it.
noise.
Yeah.
And so they go in and they search the room because they're like, what's happening? The guy from the lobby guy,
yeah.
not the owner or the manager,
the older
but
man
the older
who
man
noticed the money. Yeah.
Notices the money. He sneaks back in to steal the money.
Yep.
He gets killed.
Yes, he does. Belial's like, not having that
not
shit.
Not today. But then by the time Duane gets back home,
cops are there.
Cops are there, and they search his room. They don't find Belial. But they see that he has all this money, and they're like, are you going to be around? All right, because we might have some questions.
Yeah.
Now, Belial has been hiding out in the shitter.
He's in the toilet. It's so funny. You see the arm kind of come up like this.
Gross. Gross. Gosh, he looks like shit. Like, but that's when they have like this argument and this discord just there. Like, you lied to me. You were... So Belial's apparently accusing him of abandoning him and leaving him alone. Meanwhile, Duane, he just wanted a moment to himself.
Yeah, but Belial wants a moment too. He's like, has the same feelings that Duane does, and we'll find out later on about that,
right.
You know.
So then at some point, Beverly, who is the neighbor, is friendly with Duane.
Yeah.
And they end up at a bar together, and that's when he gets so drunk, and he tells her all the backstory.
Yep.
And she's like, all right, little white man.
She's almost doesn't really believe him, I think.
She doesn't believe him, I don't think, because otherwise she would have ran. And she takes him back, she puts him inside, she goes back to her place, and she falls asleep.
Yep.
Now, she falls asleep, but Belial is actually hiding in her bed.
Right.
And is fondling her, and she wakes up to him and starts screaming.
Right, wouldn't you?
I would shit my pants, and that would be my defense mechanism. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Okay, so he looks like a walking big old wad of boogers.
Really? Yeah, he's like a big blob with two arms sticking outside and like a face right in the middle. He almost looks like a mini Jabba the Hutt. No, I don't know, Pizza the Hut.
He looks like Pizza the Hut without the pepperoni.
Without all the dripping cheese and pepperoni and stuff, yeah.
Oh, you're delicious.
Okay,
so then that happened.
Yeah, he escapes, I think, out the window this time.
Yeah. And then...
the people come running again. They're all like, what happened? Yeah. You know, the lady Beverly is like that's her name, Beverly?
Beverly, yeah.
She's like in shock. There's like another lady who says, you can stay at my place tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
And then what? I think then what's his name is like, he goes out the side window and comes back in again?
Yeah.
Right.
So then they have to kill the other guy, the Dr. Cutter.
Right.
Right. So
But Needleman's still alive.
No, he's dead.
He's
remember?
dead. Right. Needleman's
so they have to go kill Dr. Cutter, and they go into her bed. And he has Belial in the basket, but nobody's none the wiser because you figure, it's probably the cat or probably the dog is scared or something. And there's twins there, which I thought was funny. And they both had the opposite wrists.
They work in the vet's
as receptionists.
Right, yeah.
So she goes in there to take a look, and she gets killed by Belial.
Right. He's on a rampage.
He's on a rampage. And he does this weird killing where like sticks his claw into in his mouth and like pull them down and shit. But she's like fighting him, and then like she's even getting stabbed in the face with scalpels. Oh, right, yeah. That was and the girls break down the door, and she's just there, and she just screams, but these guys are gone. Yeah. Like, they make a break for it.
So, like, again, like, at that time, they're probably not too worried about getting caught by the police. They're like,
no, I don't think so. I think they're just revenge. Like, this is our motivating force. But now that they've exacted their revenge, now what's their motivating force? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let me fall into normal-ish behavior patterns, and that is a regular boy is going to, if not, they're not worried about revenge, they're going to worry about their hormones. Yeah. Right? So they decide, Belial decides to leave. and he goes and he finds Sharon, and he breaks into her home, and he fails. No, he sees she's sleeping, and he does the whole like molesting her, and then tries to rape her.
Yeah, he does. He like gets on top of her and grinding her. Yeah, with his like whatever his underside
but
is.
he doesn't have an underside because that would have been cut
That's
off.
where it was cut, right? Yeah, so it's probably just scar tissue.
And this is
everything.
the disgusting scene. And like the people working on set walked out at this scene because it was so vile.
Yeah. We went from again Reanimator to this, and it was like two vile scenes. Which
is why I thought of this one next, because I was like, let's just do that one because it's gross.
Did the scene where he's like running through New York naked with his dong hanging out?
While Belial is like making his way to Sharon's, Duane is having this dream that he is completely naked except for his New Balances and is running in New York, but naked. Yeah. Like naked.
Completely, yeah. A little bit too much male nudity, but
like dong flopping and everything, like full frontal male nudity.
Yep. So he's, but that's what I'm asking. Is that part of when Bilal's going to her, he's having this dream at the same time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Duane knows something's up, goes to Sharon's, bursts in, sees what Belial is doing.
Yeah, catches
He has killed her.
Oh, right. She's even dead at this point in time. So basically it's like necrophilia and shit.
Pulls him off of her, runs home, and the whole time he's like in the hotel, he has the basket, and he's yelling at the basket, "This is it, I'm not supporting you ever again. Like, we're making our own way. Fuck this, fuck this."
He says a stupid line where he goes, "If I ever get my hands on you again, I'll kill you," or something like that. Yeah. But it's like, why don't you just kill him right now? Yeah. Which is what Belial says, then that's my answer. I'm just going to kill you. And
so they get into the room and they start fighting. And Duane kind of tosses Belial out the window, but ends up going with him out the window. And they're hanging by the Hotel Broslin sign. And then they fucking fall to their death.
Right.
Now, that sucks.
They're both dead now, we assume. They're both dead. Right.
Well, there's a basket case too, so.
And there are 3, I think, too.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know the director of this movie also made a movie called Frankenhooker?
No, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I saw that title recently somewhere. So again, maybe.
I'm concerned for you.
It popped up somewhere. But the thing I was wondering, though, is like, when they do these part 2 and part 3s, most of the time they're not the same director, not the same writer. This is when the franchise, like that's what movie companies were looking for.
Supposedly for part 2, they weren't killed; they were just injured. But then I wonder who the deaths would be blamed on.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll have to watch to find out. But my point was that these, when we love the horror movie genre, a lot of times I personally just like the first one in the franchise because a lot of the other ones are not as well done or not.
They're thought of after the finalization of the first scene.
And most of the time it's not the original director or screenwriter or whatever. And
correct.
Therefore,
it's like a money grab.
Yeah, it's different, like Freddy 2. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, for all you real, he said it wrong critics out there.
So, you want to hear my theory?
Yeah, please tell me.
What's my favorite theory?
It was?
What is my favorite?
Oh, what is your favorite? Your favorite theory is it's all in their head.
Yes. So, he was a conjoined twin, but the fucked upness of him secretly being cut off of his body fucked with him so much so that he created Belial in his head. And the moment he was able to really get out on his own after he killed his father, but after his aunt passed away, he's like, I'm taking revenge on all these people that did this. And that's why I think that telekinetic, whatever, nobody ever seems to be able to catch Belial actually in the basket.
So you think it's all in his head? You think it's sort of like a Fight Club situation where he's actually doing all of
he's Tyler Durden.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, that's what I think
Tyler would be Belial.
No, I'm saying, how the narrator in Fight Club was always Tyler Durden. Yeah. So
we're on the same page with that one.
we're on the same page. We're just speaking out of different thethauruses.
Yeah, my point. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so you think it's all in his head?
I think it. I mean, I would feel better following that track, like, because how else would you tell him? Okay, first of all.
Okay, so
first of all,
go ahead.
Let's say Bilal was alive and attached to his brother. When you cut off a blood supply, oxygenation, any kind of nutrients, like, he's going to wither and die.
Yeah, you're saying that he's,
physiologically, there's no way that he can survive.
Well, that part we'll have to like toss out the window. And he eats
all of that. That means he would, if he eats all that food, that means he would have a digestive tract. You would have a poop chute.
Sure,
he has none of those.
So, but okay, let's.
He doesn't even have lungs.
If you're talking about it all in his head, so then when we go back to the Bilal necrophilia scene,
so
is that
what if he
Duane
ran naked, but really in his mind he was having this dream, but he was naked because he was feeling lustful, but he was actually dressed, and he went and he killed her, and he tried to rape, or he raped her. Yeah,
raped her dead body. That's pretty crazy.
Guys have done it.
Yeah, I mean,
Bundy.
I'm not gonna put it. I'm not. Your theories don't not make sense. They're
alternate versions.
They definitely kind of tie in. So I don't know. You could be totally right. That's overall, like, that would make him a crazy basket case.
Exactly. So it wouldn't just be, oh, I have this guy in a basket. He's fucking insane.
Right. Yeah.
Which means that he's the one who's killed everybody, which means that he must have tried to sneak into Beverly's room because she was being so kind to him.
Yeah, yeah. I like your theory. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then there was that time between, like, where he could have hidden behind those pillows or on the other side of her bed, because she did take some time to undress and get back into pajamas and get herself to bed, and they're right the next room over. So he's just one window away.
Didn't she have like a shit ton of smiley faces in that scene?
Yeah, she did.
Like on her shirt, on a sticker, over here, over there.
I feel like because she was the positive light in his adventure. Sharon was there too, but Sharon was also very needy. You know what I mean? Like, she ran to him when something happened, but she's never met him before. She needed all this stuff from him. And even when he's like got that feeling that when Belial was raging, he got that feeling and ran home. She followed him, not even putting her shoes back on.
Right. She had one shoe on, one shoe off.
Right. So my feeling was he was so afraid and of this new kind of maybe lust that he was feeling with Sharon when they were kissing, that he had to get out of there because he didn't know what it was. And so he ran into the room, and that's when he destroyed the room. That's why nobody could find anything.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And maybe he went in and saw the money was missing, knew that the other guy saw his money, and went in and killed him. Like, the thing is, the timeline is so fluid. We don't know when things actually happen. We just know that they happened.
Right. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I wonder if, like, she fell in love with him sort of very quickly because he was this, like, upstate New York, like, kind of virgin boy that wasn't, like, tampered and, like, fucked with, like, most of the other men she's probably come across in this dirty ass New York.
Well, either that or she wasn't coming on to him, and maybe she was just being professional and polite, and he mistook those feelings as she's into me, and they may have, maybe they have gone out, maybe they didn't go out. Kind of like in the Joker movie where he thought he was in this relationship, but he wasn't really.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
And let me tell you, as a girl, I accidentally, quote unquote, flirt with people all the time because they think that I'm into them when I'm just being polite. I had, like, a lot of people. Well, I mean, my family might remember this, but when I was a teenager, I worked at In-N-Out.
Where? Oh, In-N-Out. Yeah.
In and out.
I thought you said Nell. I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
Okay, In-N-Out. And it's our job to be nice and smiling and friendly. And
were you the potato cutter?
At one point, yeah. Like,
French fries?
I worked my way up to French fries, which is a big deal because they pay so well. So when you work your way up to French fries, you're making good money.
Yeah. Were you good
especially as a teenager? No.
No.
No, but I was really good at things like the cash register, and I was really good at, drive-through orders, and that was my thing. I was working drive-through. And then we had regulars, but there was this one regular that every time he'd show up every day, and then
Really? Every day in and out?
every day in and out.
Fuck.
And then, well, every day, I mean, I worked Monday through Friday because I liked weekends off. So, every day, every weekday, I guess maybe it was close to his job. I don't know.
I had like a little variety in my life. That seems a little too much to have a burger
But let me
at the
tell
same
you,
place every day.
I also lived down the street from that In and Out.
Which one was it?
It was in Las Vegas.
Oh, Vegas.
Yeah, and it was on what is it? Smoke Ranch Road. Smoke something road. And it's right off the freeway. And I lived in that in the community there, and I would just walk. And I lived there, and I was on my own. I was 17 years old at that point, and I lived there with some person I was dating. And this guy followed me there and tried to take me and pull me into his car.
Really?
Really.
Fucking A.
And the security guard.
Did he just grab you by the wrist or something? Like, what did he do?
I would do Vegas is hot. I don't know if anybody knows. Vegas is really hot.
Really hot. It's a desert.
Yeah. And then I would do my laundry in the middle of the night because it wasn't as hot.
Okay, that all makes sense.
Right? So in the laundry room of the complex.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just sitting there, and I remember looking into, and at this point it wasn't even midnight. It was like 10 o'clock. The pool was still open. There were kids swimming in the pool. And I was like, somebody made a noise. I turned around and looked at the pool, and I was on the phone with my friend Rosa from when I was in high school here in LA. And she was like telling me about she was moving to Germany or something like that.
Okay.
And I was on the phone, and then suddenly somebody grabs me.
Like grabs your whole body?
Yeah,
grabs
grabs my whole body. And then...
Did he lift you off the ground?
I don't remember, but I do remember...
You just get yanked.
I do remember having watched Face Off.
Okay.
And I do remember that the person I was dating at the time gave me a knife. And I do remember really doing my best to stab him where it hurts.
Did you get him, though?
I stabbed him. I just don't know where I stabbed him.
Okay.
The security guard was like 90 years old or something. He was super old because, it's an apartment complex in a good part of town.
Okay.
And he's like coming to try to help me. And it's so weird because this guy had this yellow car. That's what I remember.
Did you see anything about this person? Like
I remember
face?
the yellow car. He was a regular at In and Out.
Oh, wait, the regular at In and Out tried to grab you?
Yes.
You think he recognized you from In and Out?
Yes. He must have followed me home. It was like 1 block away. It was the next light over. So let me tell you, sometimes you can be nice to somebody and they think you're into them.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
I had this friend.
Was he like bleeding and shit all over the place when you stabbed him?
I don't remember. I honestly, I pushed that out so long ago.
I don't want to.
I remember that it happened.
Yeah, I don't want to make you revisit it. I'm just very intrigued because I've never heard this before, and it's like
I've told you this before.
Well, not in this type of detail, and I'm paying attention now or something.
You're well awake right now,
man. What the hell? It seems
things
really
happen.
crazy.
That's why, people are like, "Oh, women, whatever." Right? It's not that we're trying to be better than men. It's like we have to go through some fucked up shit. I can't even be polite to people. Okay, if I'm not polite to people, I'm a fucking bitch. If I'm polite to people, I'm aching for them to fuck me. There's no happy medium.
That's unfortunately a part of a lot of
what
men's
I'm saying
mentality.
Is,
I don't know what to say about
women
that,
have to go through. So I'm wondering if, there is the possibility that never happened, and he followed her home. Yeah. He followed her home. He could have easily have gotten her address from the address book.
Yeah.
From the Rolodex. Followed her home, killed her, raped her.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize you went back into the movie again from there. But I was, yeah, you're right. It makes a lot of sense. I could see that happening. We don't really get any of that concrete evidence like in this movie. So, this is a type of art form where you can have your own theory and opinion and everything.
That's why I think I like movies that are so fucked up because, any movie really, you can put your own,
well, that's what
reality is all relative, right? how you see a movie and interpret it is different from what I do.
Same with music, which as an artist, I try to leave that interpretation up to the audience, instead of telling them what you're supposed to see or hear or feel, you create a mood and you allow them to go where they want to go with it, know?
And I feel like this would be the more plausible way of having something like Basket Case, the movie, be something that could have been in reality, something that could have possibly happened.
Yeah.
Like this is, maybe it's just my way of trying to fit this into a more realistic box.
You said this was the director's first movie, but did
feature film? I don't know that much about the director, except he also did Frankenhooker.
Well, yeah. What I'm wondering, and I know you don't know the answer necessarily, I'm saying, like, did he write it as well, or was there a different person who wrote it?
He wrote it.
Okay,
That was my understanding. Now, Frankenhooker is a movie about this man who loses his fiancée. She dies. So he tries to kind of put her back together by using parts of different hookers.
Prostitute. He's like, well, you were good, but this girl's got some better tits, so let's put that.
I really didn't like your big feet,
yeah.
so you have that funky thumb.
Yeah. Yeah, get rid of all the. Did you? Oh, there was a.
I prefer gold teeth.
That just reminded me of an old episode of Tales from the Crypt. Did you ever watch that show? Mm-hmm. There was this one episode. It's the only episode for some reason that has like stuck with me all these years. Like I remember watching it. I remember kind of being frightened at that time because I was young by the Crypt Keeper more than anything else. My parents would never have let me watch that anyways, but I've seen the show a few times at friends' houses. This one episode, basically there was like an old man and like a love interest, and her love interest was like this young buff guy or whatever. Long story short, it's like a body replacement thing where he's like, he does different things and he's like working on his surgery so he can replace his body and become the love interest, what she wants, whatever. And eventually he's done all these things or whatever, and he's changed his body. But then I forgot who he's talking to. I guess it's the surgeon or whatever. And he's like, or maybe it's the guy he's like the last part, the final part. He's like, you need you forgot the last something, whatever. It's the tool to please your lover or whatever. So it's like it's like he replaces his whole body but the dick. And then so eventually, I guess at the end, he replaces every piece of the body. And basically he's in a mental, the mind is, the brain is inside the body of another person or whatever, like Face Off or whatever. But I think it didn't end well. I don't think that the girl wanted him in the end. Maybe she didn't want
Frankenpenis?
No, I don't think so. But I think maybe she went with the new guy in the old skin or something like that. I don't remember the details.
Because that's interesting.
When you said about how taking different parts from different prostitutes, that's exactly what it reminded me of. This one episode. Have you ever
seen the movie May?
No.
Oh, well, it's on the list, but
it's a new movie or an old movie?
Well, I saw it, I want to say maybe early 2000s, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And it's a movie about this girl who makes her own best friend.
Oh, no, I don't remember that one. That sounds interesting, too.
Yeah.
What kind of parts does she use?
Yes.
Girl parts?
Well, it's a girl.
Okay. From other people, like?
Yeah.
Is this like kids or adults?
No, adults.
Okay.
Like, I don't remember it too vividly, but I remember that being the premise, I guess. But yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get to that one soon. Nice. I'm trying to remember something else about that Tales from the Crypt episode, but it's not really coming to me. But I do remember when that show was on, like, I don't know, it was kind of fun, right? Mm-hmm. Like there was something to look forward to every week, like a new episode of some like twisted kind of horror,
definitely
suspense thing.
I used to also like, probably not like as exciting for you, but like the same thing with Goosebumps when they had a TV show.
Yeah,
like that was like, oh my god,
Goosebumps was like the kids' watered down version of Tales from the Crypt.
Well, yeah, I was so you know how when you have a bedtime and you can't really. And you can really sneak out because your parents are asleep. We didn't have that because my stepdad worked swing shifts, so he'd come home at the middle of the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And So I never had the chance to be able to stay up and watch things. Like people are stupid. Like people would make fun of me for not being able to watch the latest episode of like The Simpsons, for example, because it'd be on at like 8:00 in my bedtime, right?
Yeah.
And,
I know. I had the same thing.
But it's like, dude, like you don't understand. We come from, this kind of family.
Yeah.
Like I had to wear like, there was one time when my brother and I were the same sizes and we just wore each other's clothes because I wasn't allowed to buy clothes.
Aww.
Like I was only allowed to buy I remember 3 shirts, 1 sweater, 2 pairs of pants, a pair of shorts, and 1 pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And that was my school clothes. And like, people make fun of kids for those things. And that's why I'm so grateful right now that my kids are in these school districts or these schools, and they've been fortunate enough to have these communities growing up that are accepting of their weird. Mm-hmm. Like my daughter went through a phase where she, wore mismatched socks all the time. She loved it. My son is like the most, the utmost authority on anything Godzilla right now. And it's not like, and because of the way everything is accessible and everything is streaming and people can be in their own little fandoms and everything's kind of accepted, they don't really get shunned for being the weird guy that doesn't know what happened on this week's episode of American Idol. You know what I mean? It's not something that everybody is week to week catching each other up on. Like they really are able to just explore all these new avenues.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier about sneaking out of the house and in LA, I'm sure there's tons of places you could go or wanted. But I remember when I was living in Massachusetts, you wouldn't want to sneak out of the house at night and go anywhere because you live houses were so spread far apart. Like you wouldn't be going anywhere and seeing something very interesting. In Florida, I might have snuck out of the house once or twice, but it probably would have been just to go smoke weed or whatever.
Right.
But I remember, and I might have told you this before, my thing was sneaking the big ass TV in the living room into my bedroom just so I could watch shit that I wasn't allowed to watch and then have to sneak it back out to try to make no noise. And I'm talking about, this was like a maybe 30, 40 inch TV.
With the big back?
With the big back, not the flat screens that we have now. A big TV. And I have to lift it up and I would take it into my room. And I'd put it in my room and then watch whatever I could watch, whether it be on VHS or DVD or whatever. DVD is probably later. I don't know if it might have been mostly VHS at the time or cable. But the problem with the cable was I'd had to have an extra wire to plug into the wall in my room. And maybe, I don't know, I don't even think I could get the cable, but maybe I did. I can't remember now. But one time, and I was like a young kid, and this was a heavy-ass TV. And one time...
So this was in Florida or Massachusetts?
Florida, yeah. Oh. One time I happened to start to lose, not my grip, but it was getting heavy trying to get it through the door. And I had to just go down with it. And it got all the way to the ground. Now, mind you, when I would pick it up and move it into the room, I was standing straight up so I could grab it and lift. Whoops. And then just go straight to the room. But when it went all the way to the floor, I then had to try to pick this whole TV up off the floor to get it back onto the stand in the living room. And I couldn't do it. One night it was so heavy and I was such a young kid that, I didn't have the strength to really lift it up. So what I had to do is take all the pillows off my bed and I'd push the TV up, throw a pillow underneath, then push it up from the other side, put another pillow until I got it at least a couple inches off the ground.
Right.
And then just this power squat where I lifted the thing up and got it back into the living room so nobody knew. I don't think my parents still to this day figured out that I was sneaking the whole TV
your mom
into
watches
my bedroom.
each one of these episodes, right?
I highly doubt
Fucking
it.
hello.
But yeah, it was crazy.
Well, I know LA has
bedtime
this. LA has this whole reputation of being this wild place, but I mean, I grew up here, so it's just home.
Yeah.
I went and I lived in Vegas for college, and then when I came back to LA, I was so bored because everything closes at a reasonable hour. In Vegas, everything's open all the time. You know what I mean? So for me, it was the opposite. It was like, I can't do when I moved back to LA, can't do anything. Things are closing. It's only 2:00. You know what I mean? So I don't know. For me, it's just different having been born and raised here.
Where would you have gone if you did sneak out? Did you have a plan in mind? What you were going to do?
The thing is, we lived in South Central. None of my friends lived in South Central. I had friends that lived all over LA because I went to a charter school. And meaning people were bussed in, and we all went to school in the Palisades.
I thought you said bust in, but bust isn't
Bust.
on the bus.
Like on the bus. And so my friends were all over the city. So none of us had cars. I wouldn't have gone anywhere. Like as a teenager, you mean? I wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Because you're saying you wanted to sneak out, and I'm just wondering if you...
I wouldn't have because I just had too many responsibilities. I remember when I was in high school, my mom always worked 2 jobs when I was growing up. She was a nanny, but she was also a waitress at the Denny's over here by the airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like she has some stories, let me tell you. So I remember my favorite story is when she said, so a group of vampires came in today. They tipped me in quarters.
Probably a bunch of goth kids that were into like Marilyn Manson and shit back then.
But because, it was not down the street, but, we lived not too far from it. And she would have all these coworkers one of which was a single mom. Many, I'm sure, were single moms. But one of which was a single mom. And I would babysit her son overnight because they worked the graveyard shift.
Damn. And how old were you? 10, babysitting.
I was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And so, I would just take care of him. So I wouldn't, I'd spend all night like taking care of this kid. And babies don't sleep all night. I mean, I would even take him with me to the zoo and like we'd go for family outings because I would still be babysitting him. And people like would shun me and be like, I can't believe that's your kid because I was 15 years old with this rando kid.
Well, luckily I know that babies don't let you sleep all night, but I haven't had to experience that firsthand.
Well, Lottie fucking da.
Yeah.
That's why you have this youthful glow because you haven't had years and years.
Team no kids over here.
But I mean, that was my reason. Like I had too many responsibilities. And, we also went from South Central to the Palisades every morning. So I'd have to wake up, be out of the house by 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
6,
I
7.
hate that.
That's why.
So glad we're not waking up that early.
So I do that now with my kids, which is why it doesn't seem like such a big deal. Like, yeah, of course, drive your kids an hour to go to school. It's a better school district, right? So, whatever. You do what you do for your children. But, I don't know. I wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah. Like, that's what I wonder too. Because a lot of people when they're like, I'm going to run away from home, but they like get outside and like, I don't know where I'm going to go.
I think I'm just too responsible. Like even when the time I got in trouble at school, like the bad trouble for school was like I was ditching my 6 period typing class to just take an extra hour at work. Like I was making smoothies. I'm like, what do you mean I could work an extra hour? I'm in.
Yeah.
And even then I only got a week's worth of detention.
That's crazy. Oh my
God. Around the same time, because my mom used to be a nanny in Brentwood, which is right next to the Palisades. I got an ass whooping. Oh my God.
Like full belt or something like that? Or
I think,
just palm?
I think this time was maybe a hanger.
I used to get fly swatted.
Oh no, that's nice. I know. I mean, I've even had a hammock once.
Not the flap end of the fly swatter, the back end.
The wire end. Yeah.
Hey, Josie. Josie wanted to come say hi. And I'm telling her to go say goodbye. We're podcasting here. All right.
No, I think this is. I've had a little bit of everything: extension cords, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she went on a hike because there's a Temescal Canyon trail right across the street from the high school. And she said that she swore she saw me with some guy up there, like dry humping or something.
Oh.
And that's when I'm like, first of all, so I have to tell you something? Let me tell you, that wasn't me because I was in class, but also that wouldn't have been me because dudes have willies, But oh my God, the ass whooping I received. This is because it was some girl that looked like me. So some other poor girl was running around looking a mess as well.
Yeah, that sucks. Well, I'm sorry to hear about that. I mean,
about getting my ass beat.
Yeah,
it happened. I would never beat my kids like ever. Like I've swatted them on their butt a few times in their lifetime, but
we grew up in a different time. Yeah, that was sort of a little bit more common. I caught an ass whooping a lot here and there for dumb shit, little things that most people wouldn't look at it as such a big deal. But you know, that's the culture my dad grew up in, and
it's
coming
just
from a different
cultures.
country, you know.
Like I remember very vividly this one time where I got, you know, those batons that have the glitter on the inside, the liquid and the glitter.
You kind of turn it one way, it goes.
So I had one of those, and I was sitting with my brother, and you know, you do what kids do, and cursing at each other, right? But we were doing it in a playful way. I think we were really coloring, maybe playing with the baton. I don't know. My stepdad came in and beat my ass because he heard me say the word dude.
Did you ever have a moment where...
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
The word dude.
Dude, you got your ass beat. I know. So, and that's why I'm asking you. My next question is, did you ever have a moment where you actually stood up and fought back? Not necessarily fought back, but...
Yes. So my stepdad was like really angry with me because I bought a pair of boots that looked exactly like the pair of boots I already owned. But... they didn't have scuffs, and they didn't have holes. No, they were cheap, like knockoffs. I was poor.
Okay.
I mean, I was paying for them myself because of you know, babysitting and you know, making smoothies. But and usually I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just take it, right? But this case, I was so upset because I'm like, first of all, my shoes are old. I wanted a new pair of shoes. I like these shoes. I just want them to not have holes in them. Mm-hmm. But secondly, this is my own money I pay them with. Guess how much they cost?
$40.
They were $12.
$12.
$12.
Okay.
And he was hitting me. Like, he even hit me with the shoe for spending money on shit I didn't need. Mm-hmm. And I hit him back. And I'm not proud of it. Yeah. But I hit him back. And then to this day, like, I feel bad about it. But it was like, this is the most ridiculous reason to ever spank me.
Was that the moment where things changed, or did you still catch ass whoopings after that?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because very soon after, because once I started working a legit job, like when I was working at Robix Juice, making smoothies, once I had a legit job, I had, you know, around that same time is when I also left the house.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too long after that I came out, and not too long after I, you know, came to some news with my parents, and they weren't supportive, I'll say, and I left. So it would have all been around the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had my dad is from Bangladesh, it's India, basically. You know, they grew up with all sorts of harsh punishments for little, you know, bamboo sticks, little rock stones, even weird things like holding yourself in a crazy position. There's one where they used to like tell the kids, like, if you're bad, you have to like put your arms through your legs and try to hold your earlobes and like you're like kind of crouched in some like spider monkey position.
My
that
friend
kind of
Philip
stuff,
used
you know.
to have his kids read parts of the dictionary, and then he would have them do, like, you know, the wall squats.
Yeah, where you sit on the wall.
And hold the book out there.
Yeah,
like
shit
this.
like that. Yeah, so there was a lot of that.
Which I think is worse. I'd rather just take the ass whipping and be done with it.
A lot of bamboo sticks and things like that. But so, you know, my dad, you know, he was trying to raise us in a little bit of a different way.
He thought was right.
Yeah, he didn't really want us to be Americanized, whereas most people that come from like India or that side of the world, if they migrated back then and say like
they try to assimilate.
You know, my dad didn't. He wanted to really keep the identity of where he was from, and he wanted us to, you know, kind of be more from there than America, whatever. And so anyways, there was one time I remember where I was early teens, probably, I don't know, 13, 14, whatever. And he was coming at me. I didn't actually hit him back because if I did, I would have hurt him. But I finally got the balls to like defend myself. It was a point in time where I would take an ass whooping and like I just laugh, and I didn't laugh about it. I'd pretend that it hurt, but inside I was laughing like, it doesn't hurt anymore. Ha ha ha. I can, you know, you're not hitting me hard enough with the belt. Like, I think
it's more emotional pain than it is physical.
But there was a time where he came at me and I basically just grabbed him and stopped. You know, I grabbed his hands and like I shoved him down on the couch, pushed him down, and I think from that moment, like, he was shocked that I did it. And then I think he probably maybe even tried to come at me a second time. And I think I maybe did it again, not physically hurting him, like punching him or hitting him, but like pushing him off me.
Like trying to diffuse
hard.
The situation.
Yeah, but I like shoved him like to the point where he hit the couch and then I just walked out and left. And I was like, you know, don't make me do anything else, you know, kind of thing. And from that point onward, I don't think he ever actually tried to raise his hand to me again, because he realized my son has got to that point now where he's got some strength and he could do some damage if he fights back. And I knew I had the power to do it if I wanted to. And so I just sort of walked away from it. My way of diffusing it was, I'm leaving.
Yeah, no, the only argument I've ever gotten to with my parents where I'm like, I'm leaving, like I literally walked out of the front door and never went back.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't take a toothbrush. I didn't take anything. And luckily, it was after, I think it was summer session already. So it wasn't like I had textbooks and stuff. Like I literally just walked out the door. And luckily, like I could still cash my paychecks because one of the check cashing place let me do it with my student ID.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of start from scratch there. But I just walked out and didn't ever go back. Yeah, that's hard. Like my kids right now are in this phase where they're like, you know, I'll tell them something and they're like, and my response is, do you want to try that again? Or what did you just say?
That's your go-to right there.
You want to try that again?
Yeah, that's
But you know where I got that from?
Where?
I got that from, well, I don't know. That's not where I got it from, but it's funny because I saw it in the office after it had already become the thing I say to the kids. I didn't get it from there because in the office, Michael Scott goes down to Daryl in the warehouse and goes, "You idiot." And Daryl just looks at him and goes, "Start over." And I'm like, wait, I see the same thing. But since then, I kind of have felt, you know, like reassured that that's the right way to approach it.
Sure, yeah.
Start over.
Yeah.
Like, would you like to try that again? Yeah.
Well, shit, man, that was a pretty good episode.
You know what's funny? Like, not funny, but like interesting is I say this a lot because my family was uprooted due to the Civil War in El Salvador, right? And they have their own traumas and they have their own way that they deal things like they did back in the old country, right? Now, there are so many things in my family that I'm not at liberty to discuss on this podcast because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. It's not anything like criminal, but it's just the way that, you know, we were all raised. Like I said, I swear it's a miracle any of us survived the 80s.
Sure. Yeah. It was a different time. And obviously that ties in with what we were talking about with the movie. Because things were different back then and, you know, people reacted differently to especially abnormalities like a Siamese or conjoined twin, whatever that is. Yeah. Have you ever seen anybody that's actually like, have you witnessed that up close?
And I think the politically correct term is conjoined twins, not Siamese.
Oh yeah. That seems kind of racist to be like Siamese twins.
Yeah, there's also that song in Lady and the Tramp, "We are Siamese, if you please." Those two creepy cats.
I never understood that thing where it was like Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these. Like that seems kind of racist now, but as a kid,
Baby says it in.
Actually, now that I think about that,
that's something Baby says. Like that's the rhyme that she says to. I think one of the hostages.
But did you never hear that when you were young? I've heard that since I was like 4 or 5. As soon as you know.
But you know what I heard
where's
a
it come
lot
from?
was easy peasy Japanesey, and I said that at work once, and I turned to Amanda. I'm like, "Wait, is that racist?" And she's like, "I don't know. I think so." And for me, it was more like my understanding was, you know, the Japanese have been able to figure out how to make things easier, and that's what I thought it was. But who knows what it means?
I'm just looking back at it because I grew up knowing this Chinese, Japanese.
And maybe it's a Southern thing. Because
no, but this was from Massachusetts. I've even remember this. Yeah, and it was always to me the look at these was about the boobs, right? So it was sort of like I don't know what the rest of it meant, but
just because it rhymed.
But we would do this eye motion and shit like that as like little kids, and I don't know where we learned it, picked it up from.
We pick it up from those around us, and unfortunately. People should have known better, but they didn't exactly know better.
That's fucked up. I never even thought about it till just now.
Did I tell you about the time that in middle school, I went to a predominantly black middle school, and this guy was saying something, and I have a smart mouth, and I said something to him. He's like, "Oh, I don't want to sit in this grass. It's so itchy." And I turned back. New kid in school. Maybe you should try showering. Was my response.
Oh, you're mean.
I know.
What if he didn't have a chance to like shower because his family was fucked up and they didn't turn the water on or something? I don't know.
That's racist.
No, I'm saying that. Well,
Okay, so I was a new kid in a new school, and this guy was making PE take longer because he was going on and on about how itchy things were. And I'm like, why don't you try showering? And then he called me a wetback.
Oh.
And then, but the funny thing was, I had gone from a predominantly Mexican school where I was kind of just the only non-Mexican there to a predominantly black school where I was one of the few Latinos there in general, like just blanketed. They assumed I was Mexican. I don't know. And so I didn't know what a wetback was.
Like, what?
And I'm like, I know I should be insulted, but I'm not. So whatever. So I let it roll off my back. I was like, whatever. I'm like, maybe I'm sweating.
Did it slide off your back?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, maybe I'm wet.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm sweating. Like I had no idea. But then after that, let me tell you, nobody ever mentioned shit to me ever again because it was like, shit, I insulted her and didn't even bother her. But really, I was like, what's that? Like, what are you saying to me right now?
Yeah.
And what was a benefit of growing up in South Central, in Mid-City, and being exposed to all of these cultures is you don't really, I mean, you can take the bad aspects out of it. But for me, it was more of I was able to absorb the cultures differently, and I was able to appreciate everything for what they really are, and take the good out of it. And I think that's just how I lead my life anyway. It can be a shit situation, but I'm just going to take the good pieces and roll with it, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, never knowing what a wetback was probably made my middle school years a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean, my middle school and high school years were down in Florida, and Florida to this day still can have, it could be a very racist place. It's sort of changed a lot. Obviously, you've got your true blue Floridians who are like born and raised there. And then you've got, all these other transplants. You've got people that were retiring there from like New York that were from maybe like Italian or Jewish or Irish descendants. And then you've got all the Caribbean and people coming in from, so you got a mixed variety, and then they kind of taken over in some ways, like Miami and certain places. And I don't mean taken over in a bad way. I mean like for some people, for some people they don't like that change where it used to be.
People are afraid of change. Do you remember? There was a coworker I used to have that kept the company back, like from being more efficient and effective, because she didn't want to make changes, and she had a lot of information about the company. So that company was not moving forward because this one person didn't want change. Mm-hmm. People who are unwilling to change are really going to keep back society. Like if you're not growing, you're dying. And even if you think you're stagnant, stagnation is just a very slow decay. Like you really just need to constantly be bettering yourself. Like right now, we talked about this maybe a couple of shows ago. We're in quarantine. I can easily just be sitting here and getting fatter. And while I am kind of doing that, I also am learning to play bass. I'm also learning about sewing and pattern making and such. I'm also learning, I learned front-end development. I'm also learning, all these other things. And I am one of the people that always want to be doing something better.
Good.
And I want to surround myself with those kind of people. Otherwise, you're going to be full of shit people. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah. Yep. Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I forgot what we were talking about.
Well, originally we were maybe talking about Basket Case, but I mean, we're done with that now. I know, we're long done with that.
So Basket Case, everybody should watch it.
Should they?
I think they should.
We say that all the time. I feel like we got to be finding movies where like, don't watch this movie because it sucks.
Don't watch The Fog.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I think people need to watch it on their own and see it through their own lenses. I feel like people need to watch the good and the bad. Like if you only have good things happen in your life, how are you going to know how truly good things are? You have to have some bad to be able to make the good that much more better. There's
going to be a bunch of people that'll watch this and not have the patience or the understanding, or it's just too low budget and whatever for them. But there's other people that will enjoy these types of movies.
This movie is for the person who wants to see what it was like to be grossed out in a different decade. This movie is for a person who wants to see what you can do with a limited budget. This is for a person who wants to see what making a raw movie is without all this special effects and without all this visuals with no money. And if you want to take a sneak peek as to what New York looked like before, like, this is great. Like, even the Twin Towers are up. Like, I think it's great. I mean, the movie, does it stand? Probably not as well as a lot of people would like.
I mean, we're not reviewing like award-winning, stand the test of time movies here. We're watching horror movies that are like what we call them, B-rated horror movies. Along with, I mean, we're watching a variety of everything. But we're this genre,
watching movies that we haven't seen or we have seen and we want to share them. We've seen tons of horror movies in between. The last episode and this episode, we just want to pick out the ones we want to share with you.
Well, we know that people that like this genre also are accepting of a lot of these,
all the flaws.
Yeah, flaws and stuff. And it's just all a different art form,
Mm-hmm. You know what? This podcast is like mixing a bag of M&Ms and a bag of Skittles. Sometimes you get chocolate and sometimes you get the candy.
I guess you could say
that.
And
if you like chocolate, sometimes you'll be disappointed. If you like sweet, if you like candy, sometimes you'll be disappointed. But either way, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know if I would watch Basket Case again, like for just my own pleasure. Like, and this probably goes for a lot of the movies we've seen. I think that people, if they're interested in seeing something that they haven't seen before, definitely go check it out.
For somebody to call it the sickest movie they've ever seen.
See, I don't agree with that.
In 1982.
I still don't agree with that, but...
you know what? You're right, because what's that movie?
The thing is, like, that's
there are a lot of like the 70s, the late 70s were full of rape revenge movies. That's sicker than this,
right? Yeah, that's something that they use to try to help sell the movie, and then whatever. At the time, they were trying to set their trends with their little.
I spit on your grave is what I was thinking about.
Yeah, right. But that's what I mean. When I see things that boast like this is the scariest movie or the most sickenest movie or whatever, I just don't like to listen to that because they're really not. That was actually
only used to promote the film after somebody interviewed Rex Reed coming out of the movie, and his first reaction was to say that.
Who's Rex Reed?
I think he was a reviewer at the time.
Oh, okay.
But his intention wasn't to call it that and whatever. He just was off the cuff. And they started using it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, let's make this movie that's the sickest, because I think they would have just gone a whole different way.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it was fun. Fun. And it's always good talking to you about these movies. Yeah. It's just shooting the shit with you.
I like that you're accepting of my theories, even though the director probably had no intention of it being this way.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for us today.
Yeah. I think we'll close this one out, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks so much for coming. Don't forget to check out our shop, icecreampodcast.com/shop. And please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. We're probably going to just make a video that tag all these podcasts at the end, right? Because we're going to say the same thing over and over again. And we know that, you guys know what to do. So just, do it. Have a good time. Live a good life. Enjoy the rest of your day or night.
Email us your movie suggestions and give us your comments. But our email is hello@icecreampodcast.com.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you.
I didn't have any choice on picking that one. You kind of
like it?
I don't know. Hello at ice cream.
It's hello.
Okay, I don't know. It doesn't come off that way. It could just be mail at icecreampodcast.com or whatever. But it's hello at icecreampodcast.com. icecreamparlor.podcast.com. No, icecreampodcast.com. That's all going to get.
I think I hate you. Go to sleep.
Well.
Say goodnight, Stefan.
Good night, Stefan.
Okay, bye.